Hello everyone, welcome to EduHunt video lecture series. We have already covered the worksheet 1 in breathing and exchange of gases, how the process of breathing takes place and how the oxygen and CO2 are carried through various media, that is through RBC or by plasma in dissolved state or any other way. So, in this session, we are going to deal with second worksheet, that is Neet model worksheet 2. Let's begin. First question is, it is a statement, here a statement is given and we have to find out which is the wrong statement among the 4 statements. Incorrect statement. Find the incorrect statement among 4 statements. The residual air in lungs slightly decreases the efficiency of respiration in mammals. This is the incorrect answer because the residual air does not affect the efficiency of respiration in mammals. So let's see other options also. The presence of non-respiratory air sacs increases the efficiency of respiration in birds. No, it is the correct answer. Correct. The statement is correct. So it is not the answer here. In insects, circulating body fluids serve to distribute oxygen to tissues. The principle of concurrent flow facilitates efficient respiration in gills of fishes. So these are the correct options only. The incorrect statement here is the first statement. The majority of carbon dioxide produced by our body cells is transported to the lungs in the form of bicarbonates only, because 70% of the carbon dioxide is carried in the form of bicarbonates. So as bicarbonates. Bowman's glands are found in, these are found in olfactory epithelium in the nose. Bowman's glands are located in the olfactory epithelium of our nose. This is the extension of the previous question. What is the vital capacity of our lungs? Vital capacity of our lungs is inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume, total lung capacity minus residual volume. This is the vital capacity of the lung. Listed below are 4 respiratory capacities A to D and 4 jumbled respiratory volumes of a normal human adult human being. Respiratory capacities, and these are respiratory volumes. Residual volume, vital capacity, inspiratory reserve volume and inspiratory capacity. These are the 4 different capacities and volumes given. Vital capacity is 500, tidal volume is 500 ml, and residual volume, yes, we have to match the volume with the value. Let's see the first option A, that is 4500 ml residual volume, 4500 ml kaadu. So ikkada idi koteyachu. 2500 ml for vital capacity and 4500 ml for inspiratory reserve volume. So it is also a wrong option. And 1200 ml, this is inspiratory reserve volume, and it is also a wrong answer. So inspiratory capacity is 3500 ml and the vital capacity, residual volume is 1200 ml. This is the correct matching. What is true about RBCs in human beings? They do not carry CO2 at all. No. They carry about 20 to 25% of CO2. Yes. They transport 99.5% of oxygen. No, 97.7% oxygen. They transport about 80% of oxygen only. So it is also wrong answer. So correct option here is they carry about 20 to 25% of CO2. Two friends are eating together on a dining table. One of them suddenly starts coughing while swallowing some food. This coughing would have been due to improper movement of. It is improper movement of epiglottis. Epiglottis, a small flap, cartilaginous flap that regulates the flow of air and even the while swallowing food, it closes the air tract. Because of that, the bolus enters esophagus, not the trachea. So epiglottis only. The figure given below shows a small portion of human lung where exchange of gases takes place. In which one of the options given below, the one part A, B, C or D is correctly identified along with its function. What is that? Options are C is the arterial capillary passes oxygen to tissues. A, alveolar cavity, main site of exchange of expiratory gases. And capillary wall exchange of D is the capillary wall exchange of oxygen and CO2 takes place. And B, red blood corpuscles, transport of CO2 mainly. So obviously capillary wall exchange of O2 CO2 takes place, alveolar cavity, main site of exchange of respiratory gases. So this and even this is also correct option. A large proportion of oxygen is left unused in the human blood even after its uptake by the body tissues. This oxygen acts as a reserve during muscular exercise, raises the PCO2, partial pressure of CO2 of blood to 75 mm of Hg, is enough to keep oxyhemoglobin saturation at 96%, helps in releasing more oxygen to the epithelial tissue. Which of the following is the correct answer? So it acts as a reserve during muscular exercise. Bulk of carbon dioxide released from body tissues into the blood is present as, it is present as carbaminohemoglobin, bicarbonates in blood plasma and RBCs, free CO2 in blood, 70% carbaminohemoglobin and 30% bicarbonates. So this is the correct option, bicarbonate in blood and plasma. Which one of the following is the correct statement for respiration in humans? Workers in grinding and stone breaking industries may suffer from lung disorders, lung fibrosis. Yes, it is correct. About 90% of carbon dioxide is carried by hemoglobin as carbaminohemoglobin. Kaadu kada? Cigarette smoking may lead to inflammation of bronchi. It leads to the breakage of alveolar walls. Neural signals from pneumotoxic center in pons region of brain can increase the duration of inspiration. So obviously the correct option is workers in grinding and stone breaking industries may suffer from lung fibrosis. People who have migrated from the plains to an area adjoining Rohtang pass about 6 months back suffer from altitude sickness with symptoms like nausea and fatigue. ఇదే ఎందుకు కరెక్ట్? have the usual blood RBC count but their hemoglobin have very high binding affinity. No. have more RBCs and their hemoglobin has a lower binding affinity to oxygen, are not physically fit to play games like football. So first one is the correct option. The figure shows a diagrammatic view of human respiratory system with which labels A, B, C and D. Select the option which gives correct identification and main function characteristic. A, B, C, D, these are the parts of the lungs. A is trachea, B is the wall of the lung, pleura, C is alveoli and D is diaphragm. So D lower end of lungs, diaphragm pulls it down during inspiration. Trachea, long tube supported by complete cartilaginous rings, because the cartilaginous rings are not complete, they are incomplete. Pleural membranes surround ribs on both sides to provide cushion against rubbing. So surround ribs, these are present on the lungs. Alveoli, thin walled vascular bags. See, alveoli are the thin vascular bag like structures for exchange of gases. This is the correct option. Approximately 70% of carbon dioxide absorbed by the blood will be transported to the lungs as bicarbonate ions in the form of dissolved gas molecules by binding to RBC as carbaminohemoglobin. First one is the correct option because 70% of the CO2 is transported as bicarbonate form only. When you hold your breath, which of the following gas changes in blood would first lead to the urge to breathe? Raising CO2 concentration, falling CO2 concentration, raising CO2 and falling oxygen concentration, falling oxygen concentration. When you hold your breath, which of the following gas changes in blood would first lead to the urge to breathe? Hold your breath. Manam hold చేసినప్పుడు breathe ni. So raising CO2 concentration is the correct option. Asthma may be attributed to bacterial infection of lungs, allergic reaction of mast cells in the lungs, and inflammation of the trachea, accumulation of fluid in the lungs. It is the allergic reaction of the mast cells in the lungs. The partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli of the lungs is, it is alveoli annaru, oxygen pressure alveoli lo less than in the blood, less than that of the carbon dioxide, equal to that in the blood, more than that in the blood, more than that in the blood. Because partial pressure of oxygen alveoli lo ekku unte, we know that oxygen and CO2 moves along the concentration gradient. It is a simple diffusion process. If the alveoli possess more pressure, then oxygen moves from alveolar sac to the blood. So blood should possess less oxygen concentration or oxygen pressure when compared to alveoli. More than that in blood. In alveoli, more pressure is present than in blood. So మనం ఈ బిట్స్ చూసాం కదా, దీనిలో ఇప్పటి వరకు మీకు తెలిసిందే, మీకు అర్థమైంది ఏంటి? ఈ బిట్స్లో ఎక్కువగా వచ్చే బిట్స్, రిపీటెడ్గా అడిగే బిట్స్ ఏమున్నాయి ఇందులో? పార్షియల్ ప్రెషర్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ అండ్ కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్. సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ని ఫాలో అయితే, సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ డెఫినిషన్ని మనం అర్థం చేసుకోగలిగితే మూమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ అండ్ CO2 విల్ బికమ్ ఈజీ. అది అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఈజీగా మారిపోతుంది. సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ద మూమెంట్ ఆఫ్ మాలిక్యూల్స్, వెదర్ దే ఆర్ గ్యాస్ ఆర్ ఎనీ మాలిక్యూల్స్, దే మూవ్ ఫ్రమ్ అ రీజియన్ ఆఫ్ హయ్యర్ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ టు లోవర్ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్. సో ఇది మనం మైండ్లో ఉంచుకుంటే పార్షియల్ ప్రెషర్స్ కూడా, ఈవెన్ ఆక్సిజన్ అండ్ CO2 ఆల్సో దే ఫాలో ద సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ టెక్నిక్. సో oxygen always move from atmosphere to the lungs and to the alveoli and finally to the blood. And in the same way, CO2 in the blood, in the tissues it is more. That is why partial pressure of CO2 is more in tissues as it moves along the concentration gradient or pressure gradient. It moves from tissues to the blood, blood to the alveolar sac, to the bronchioles and bronchi, trachea, lungs, pharynx, nasal passage and finally to the out. So it is a simple diffusion technique. సో సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ని మనం అర్థం చేసుకోగలిగితే ఈ పార్షియల్ ప్రెషర్ రిలేటెడ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ని చిన్న లాజిక్ యూజ్ చేసి ఈజీగా ఆన్సర్ చేయగలుగుతాం. అండ్ అలాగే ఈ సెషన్లో మనం టైడల్ వాల్యూమ్స్, ఇన్స్పిరేటరీ రిజర్వ్ వాల్యూమ్ అండ్ డిఫరెంట్ కెపాసిటీస్ ఆఫ్ లంగ్స్ మీద వచ్చే క్వశ్చన్స్ని కూడా చేశాము. సో ఆ వాల్యూస్ కొంచెం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోగలిగితే, వాల్యూస్ అండ్ దేర్ ఫార్ములాస్ గుర్తుపెట్టుకుంటే ఈజీగా నెక్స్ట్ స్టెప్లో ఈజీగా చేయగలుగుతారు. Lungs do not collapse between breaths and some airways remains in the lungs which can never be expelled because lungs eppudu kuda collapse aipovu because there is a positive intrapleural pressure. Pressure in the lungs is higher than that of the atmosphere. There is a negative pressure in the lungs. There is a negative intrapleural pressure pulling at the lungs walls. This is the correct option. Lungs are made up of air-filled sacs, the alveoli. They do not collapse even after forceful expiration because of enduku tidal volume, residual volume వల్ల. సో మనం 20 బిట్స్ చేసాం ఇప్పటి వరకు. ఈ 20 బిట్స్లో కూడా మెజారిటీ ఆఫ్ ద బిట్స్ వర్ ఎంఫసైజ్డ్ ఆన్ ద వాల్యూస్, టైడల్ వాల్యూమ్ అని, ఇన్స్పిరేటరీ రిజర్వ్ వాల్యూమ్ అని, ఎక్స్పిరేటరీ రిజర్వ్ వాల్యూమ్ అని, వేరియస్ లంగ్ కెపాసిటీస్ మీద అడిగారు. అలాగే ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ అండ్ CO2 సింపుల్ డిఫ్యూజన్ మెథడ్ని ఫాలో అవుతూ ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ అండ్ CO2 మీద క్వశ్చన్స్ రిపీటెడ్గా వచ్చాయి. నెక్స్ట్ సెషన్కి వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు రిమైనింగ్ బిట్స్ మనం ఆన్సర్ చేద్దాం. ఓకే, వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ డియర్ స్టూడెంట్స్. నీట్ మోడల్ వర్క్ షీట్ 2లో 20 బిట్స్ మనం చేసుకున్నాం ఆల్రెడీ. 21st బిట్ నుంచి ఇప్పుడు కంటిన్యూ చేద్దాం. విచ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫాలోయింగ్ ఆప్షన్స్ కరెక్ట్లీ రిప్రజెంట్స్ ద లంగ్ కండిషన్ ఇన్ ఆస్మా అండ్ ఎంఫిసీమా రెస్పెక్టివ్లీ? ఇన్ఫ్లమేషన్ ఆఫ్ బ్రాంకియోల్స్ అండ్ డిక్రీజ్డ్ రెస్పిరేటరీ సర్ఫేస్. దిస్ ఇస్ ద కరెక్ట్ ఆప్షన్. మిగతావి ఎందుకు చూడకుండా పెట్టాము అంటే, డిక్రీజ్డ్ రెస్పిరేటరీ సర్ఫేస్ ఎప్పుడు ఉంటుంది? వెన్ దెర్ ఈస్ అ డ్యామేజ్ ఆన్ ద in the walls of alveoli. Alveolar surface దేనికోసం ఉంది? It increases the diffusion surface. ఎప్పుడైతే alveolar wall బ్రేక్ అయిందో, alveolar wall డ్యామేజ్ అయిందో, the surface available for diffusion becomes reduced. So it happens here. ఎంఫిసీమాకి ఇది. అలాగే ఆస్మా రిలేటెడ్ టు ఇన్ఫ్లమేషన్ ఆఫ్ బ్రాంకై అండ్ బ్రాంకియోల్స్. ఇంకా మిగతావి కూడా ఒకసారి చూసేద్దాం. ఇంక్రీజ్డ్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ బ్రాంకియోల్స్, ఇంక్రీజ్డ్ రెస్పిరేటరీ సర్ఫేస్ ఇంక్రీజ్ ఎలా అవుతుంది? అవ్వదు. సో ఇంక్రీజ్డ్ రెస్పిరేటరీ సర్ఫేస్ కాదు, ఇన్ఫ్లమేషన్ ఆఫ్ ద బ్రాంకియోల్స్. డిక్రీజ్డ్ రెస్పిరేటరీ సర్ఫేస్ ఇది రివర్స్లో అయింది. సో ఆస్తమా అండ్ ఎంఫిసీమా ఫస్ట్ వన్కి రివర్స్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ ద First one is the correct option. Match the following question ఇది. Column 1 వాల్యూమ్స్ ఇచ్చారు, 2లో దాని వాల్యూస్ ఇచ్చారు. చూద్దాం. Tidal volume is 500 to 550 ml. So 3. Inspiratory reserve volume is 1. Expiratory reserve volume, residual volume. Expiratory reserve volume is 4. This is 1000 to 1100 ml. And residual volume is 2. Let's see. 3142. Yes, this is the correct option. Which of the following is an occupational respiratory disorder? Anthracis, botulism, silicosis and emphysema. Silicosis. Occupational respiratory disorder lo crushing, grinding, mining departments, mining fields lo cheste vastayannam kada. Stone crushing occupation unna vallaki vache disease. Tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume of an athlete is 500 ml and 1000 ml respectively. Which will be his expiratory capacity if the residual volume is 1200? TV icharu. It is TV and ERV icharu, and we have to find out the expiratory capacity if the residual volume is 1200. Expiratory capacity is equal to TV plus ERV. So this is the correct option, 500 plus 1000. Select the correct statement. Expiration occurs due to external intercostal muscles. Intrapulmonary pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure during inspiration. Inspiration occurs when atmospheric pressure is less than intrapulmonary pressure. Expiration is initiated due to contraction of the diaphragm. So last delago contraction kaadu kabatti teeseddam. First one, expiration occurs due to external intercostal muscles. Intrapulmonary pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure. So ఎప్పుడైతే లోవర్ అన్నామో ఎక్స్పిరేషన్ జరగదు, హయ్యర్ ఉంటేనే ఎక్స్పిరేషన్ జరుగుతుంది. ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ అక్కర్స్ వెన్ అట్మాస్ఫిరిక్ ప్రెషర్ ఈజ్ లెస్ దాన్ ద ఇంట్రాపల్మనరీ ప్రెషర్. So this is the correct option. Inspiration occurs when atmospheric pressure. Inspiration annaru, so idi wrong answer. Expiration occurs due to external intercostal muscles. The maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after a forced expiration is known as ఏమంటాము? That is vital capacity. That's the end, dear students. In this session, Neet model worksheet 2 was covered, and all the bits, majority of the bits were asked in by tidal volume and expiratory volume. These are the various kinds of capacities that a lung has, and most of the majority of the bits covered in the volume and capacities of the lungs and transport of oxygen and CO2 and forms of different transport types, and also various disorders associated with the respiration and transport of oxygen. So మనం నెక్స్ట్ టైం మీట్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు ఇంకొక మోడల్తో మనం ముందుకు వెళదాం. ఆల్ ది బెస్ట్.